What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Iowa Hawkeyes are up next. The Hawkeyes coming off a pretty good year last year. They won 10 games and made it to the Big Ten championship, of course, but my thoughts on this team from last year, offensively, it was the worst offense in the country from last year. So, yeah, they got a lot of improvement to do on the offensive side of the football. They were not very consistent on that side of the football either. But you look at this defense, they were very consistent on that side of the football. They were one of the most dominant defenses in the country. But overall, it was a pretty up and down year for Iowa last year, but they made it to the Big Ten championship. My thoughts on this team, though, for 2024, offensively, you still have some concerns there. You got Cade McNamara, though, coming back at quarterback. Obviously missed out with an injury from last year, so with him back, maybe the offense will be a little bit better. Plus, they got a new offensive coordinator, so they're going to make some changes with the offense. And then defensively, they're going to be pretty dominant on that side of the football. They do lose plenty of talent, but they're going to be really good on that side of the football either way. So let's now get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Iowa. Again, they were 10-4 overall last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Iowa Hawkeyes for 2024. They'll start things off with Illinois State here on August 31st. I think that's a pretty easy win there for the Hawkeyes, but it's probably a low-scoring type game. Again, we don't really know what the new offense is going to look like for Iowa. I just think every game is probably on the schedule is probably going to be a low-scoring type game. You never know what can happen. So with that being said, I think this is probably a low-scoring type game, but I think Iowa definitely is clearly the more talented team. They will win this game to start out the year, and they'll start out 1-0 pretty easily. And then after that, there's the big game in week number 2 at home on September the 7th against Iowa State. This is always a very interesting rivalry game between these two teams, but it seems like it's low-scoring now these days. You look at this Iowa State team, a lot of players coming back on both sides of the football. This is going to be a veteran team. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Iowa State team a lot. This is probably a dark horse contender in the Big 12 this year. Not saying they're a playoff contender, but they have the number 2 most production coming back in the country. So this is not going to be an easy game here for the Hawkeyes, but the good news is you get it at home. Last year, Iowa, defeated Iowa State, on the road and everything. Could the Cyclones turn the, favor here and beat Iowa at their home turf? I don't really think so. I think it's a really tough game to call. It's a 50-50 game for me, and usually when it's like a really close matchup to call, usually I go with the home field advantage in some of these predictions, so that's what I'm going to do here for this one. I think it's a close, low-scoring type game, but I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes here to knock off Iowa State here in week number 2 in that rivalry game, and I think they beat them for the second year in a row, but you never know. We've seen some back-and-forth matchups here between these two teams, so I think Iowa, though, does win that one, and then they take care of business against Troy here on September the 14th. So that puts their record now at 3-0. Next game is on the road here at Minnesota on September 21st. This will be their first official Big Ten conference game. This Minnesota team is going to be a lot better. A lot of experience coming back for this Minnesota team as well. Just like Iowa State, they're not going to have the most production coming back in the country, but again, this is a veteran Minnesota team. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were from last year. So this is a very tough game to call. I think it's a low-scoring type game here once again. I think the Hawkeyes have a really good defense to stop this Minnesota offense from being consistent, but I just think Minnesota playing on the road, it's going to be a very tough game, and it's going to be a game where I think Minnesota is going to be fired up for. Iowa probably coming into this game as a top 15 team, and they probably pull off the upset here. So I'm going to go with Minnesota here to give Iowa their first loss here of the season, so that puts their record here at 3-1. And then they get a bye week right after that Minnesota game before playing another road game against Ohio State. So they got back-to-back road games here with Minnesota and Ohio State, but the good news is they get a bye week in between those two, back-to-back road games. But I think this is a pretty good spot for a bye week if you're an Iowa fan. Playing on the road at Ohio State is a very tough place to play, but it's not going to be helping them out pretty well. I think Ohio State is definitely the more talented team, but this is a low-scoring type game. I think Ohio State, though, playing at home, it's hard to go against them in this type of environment, especially playing at their home turf in Columbus. Plus, I think the Buckeyes are going to be really good this year, so I think Ohio State does win this one, and they give back-to-back losses here for Iowa and also their second loss here of the season, and that puts their record now at 3-2. Then after that, they'll play at home against Washington here on October 12th. Don't really know how good the Huskies are going to be this year, obviously with a first-year head coach. They got really a lot of concerns on both sides of the football here. But, Iowa definitely is the better team here. I think playing at home, they do win this one fairly easily. But once again, it is a low-scoring type game. I think the Hawkeyes, though, do win it here, and that puts their record here at 4-2 on the season. Next game is on the road here at Michigan State on October 19th. Michigan State is a team that obviously has a first-year head coach. We don't know how good this team is going to be. I mean, offensively, you lost a lot of players from the transfer portal, and then you lost a lot of experience on that side of the football as well. Defensively, they could be really good, but this is a road game, so anything can happen here, especially when you're playing on the road here in the Big Ten. But I just think Iowa is definitely the more talented roster. I think they find a way to win this game. It's probably a close game in the first half, and maybe second half, they probably pull away and make some stops here on the defensive side of the football. I know that's a game that Iowa could potentially lose and everything, but I think Michigan State might not be really that good this year. And plus, they have a first-year head coach, so we don't really know how good they're going to be. So Iowa here, I got them winning that game on the road here at Michigan State. So that puts their record now at 5-2. Then after that, they'll play Northwestern here at home on October 26th. This is definitely going to be a low-scoring type game. I think both defenses are pretty even. Northwestern's going to have a really good defense this year as well. They're going to have a pretty okay average type offense, but it's probably not going to be enough to get past this Iowa, defense and everything. So yeah, this is going to be a low-scoring type game. Maybe this game probably goes in maybe a 3-0 ball game. Maybe it can go to 6-3 of a ball game, but Iowa definitely playing at home. I had to go with them here just because it's so hard to predict against Iowa here playing at their home place. So I think Iowa does get the win here, and that puts their record here at 6-2 here on the season. And then after that, they'll play at home against Wisconsin on November 2nd. This is going to be a veteran Wisconsin team. A lot of players coming back on both sides of the football. Luke Fickell in his second year. This has always been a very interesting game here between these two teams. Obviously Iowa playing at home, though, that does favor them just a little bit here in this one. And I kind of been back and forth on this game. My gut feeling is telling me to go with Wisconsin here just because they have the more better roster and everything, but again, Iowa playing at home, it's hard to go against them here when they're playing at their home place. So with that being said, I think the Hawkeyes do get the win here over Wisconsin, and that puts their record here at 7-2. Next game is on the road here at UCLA on November the 9th. This is a UCLA team just like Michigan State. They're going with a first-year head coach down there, Deshaun Foster now taking over. I think the future is definitely bright here for the Bruins. They're obviously a newcomer in the Big Ten this season as well. Forgot to mention that with Washington as well, but I think Iowa definitely is the more talented team here. I don't really know if UCLA is going to be that really good this year. Plus, they have a very tough schedule. Both Michigan State and UCLA both have very tough schedules. That's the reason why I'm kind of having a hard time how good these teams are going to be. But, playing on the road, you never know what can happen here. This is probably one of those upset alert type games, but I think Iowa definitely finds a way to win this one. This probably could be an even matchup here as well, but I think Iowa does win this one. They find a way to win that game here on the road at UCLA. It's a low-scoring type game again, but I think Iowa does win it here. They find a way to win it here at the end of the day, and that puts their record now at 8-2. And then they get a bye week here before playing Maryland on the road here on November 23rd. I don't think the Terrapins are going to be the same consistent team that they've been over the years here in the Big Ten, but this is definitely one of those trap games here in the month of November, and definitely one of those upset alert type games as well. I definitely have been back and forth on this game. This is a very tough game here to play on the road. It's a very tough place to play at Maryland. Let's say that Iowa is probably in contention to probably make the Big Ten championship here at this point, and also probably a potential college football playoff spot as well. I think Maryland ruins that. I'm going to go with the upset here on this game. It's a back-and-forth type game for me in this one. I've really been back and forth on this game, having a really hard time predicting this one. But I'm going to go with Maryland here. I think Maryland does give Iowa their third loss here of the season. Again, I've been really back and forth on this game, so I'm going to go with Maryland here to pull off the upset and give Iowa their third loss here of the season. And then Iowa's final game, of course, is at home against Nebraska here in rivalry weekend on November 29th. This is going to be a really good Nebraska team. They have a lot of production coming back, the same amount amount of production probably as Wisconsin. They also have like maybe a top 10 production, overall returning production coming back in the country as well. So this is not going to be an easy game. This is a weeknight game as well. We've seen some upsets here on this weeknight games. Nebraska, again, I think is going to be very competitive. This game probably goes into the fourth quarter, but it's a low-scoring type game. Once again, I think Iowa, though, playing at home, it's hard to go against them here playing at their home turf. So with that being said, I think Iowa does beat Nebraska here in a close, low-scoring type game, and I got them winning their final game here of the regular season on November 29th. Again, that game's going to be on a Friday. So my official prediction here for Iowa for 2024 is 9-3. I know that sounds really crazy, but maybe the offense is a little bit better. You never know with the changes that they're going to be making on the offensive side of the football, and if Cade McNamara stays healthy, they could be actually a really decent offense. Not that saying that they're going to be a really explosive offense. They could be actually like an average type offense, maybe like that. But, I just think the offense has got a long ways to go. Maybe they're not really that good this year, but with the defense, it's really, going to be the story there. I mean, the defense is really going to help them out to win these games, especially like road games against Michigan State and UCLA. Again, both of those teams are going with first-year head coaches. I was kind of back and forth on those games, but either way, I think Iowa definitely is the more talented team compared to those two teams. And then that Maryland game is definitely a trap game. I was really back and forth on that game, but I think Maryland does pull off the upset there. Again, upsets happen here in the month of November, but that is my prediction here for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, 9-3 is my prediction. So let me guys know what you think about this Iowa team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.